Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am like winging it out with my lashes. Like my lashes are just... I'm wearing House of Lashes Smoky Muse stacked with House of Lashes Iconic, and it makes me feel like I have extremely I feel like I have butterfly wing eyes, if that makes sense. Like they're just kind of boop, boop. But it's just like the shadow that it creates and how they like overlap. In real life though, I promise they look better. Yeah. Okay, so today I'm here with a review of the Natasha Denona 28 palette in blue purple. It is pretty much like, I don't even remember when it came out, maybe in February? Probably February, but like I just haven't been using it that much, so I've been like trying to use it like whenever I can because it's just so colorful. Like if I got the green brown one, then maybe like I would have used it more often, but this one is just like bam. Like I don't use blue that often. I decided to use it today for the sake of this review, but I have used this enough to know how I feel about it. I also have the palette 5, I think. I have the palette, oh okay, it is the eyeshadow palette 5, but it is palette number 4. There are 2 overlap shades, so I can talk to you a little bit about that because it is something that I should discuss. Palette 28, this one costs $239. From Beautylicious website. You can also purchase it from Natasha Denona's website for the same price. Pretty sure it should qualify for free shipping. I'd be sad if it didn't. But yeah, so this is a 28 pan palette for $239, which when you break it down, it comes out to $8.50 per pan. And that's pretty much how I justified purchasing this palette, because $240 is a lot to drop at one time. But this palette was just so raved about, and just like Natasha Denona shadows in general were so raved about, like, you know, leading up to the release of these palettes. Like Jaclyn Hill was like, oh my gosh, and Kathleen Lights was like, oh my gosh. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, about these palettes. And so of course they were super hyped up. Before I decided to purchase it, like I really had to do some thinking, like some hard thinking, like do I really want this palette? Because it's a lot of money to spend. And after like watching reviews and just like looking at the ingredients and everything, I'm like, these have talc as like the first ingredient. Like, do I really want something that has talc as the first ingredient? Like, is that going to be worth $240? But then, I mean, I did a little bit of searching and some researching, and I'm like, okay, like these Becca shadows are like super amazing, like I love them. Talc was the first ingredient. And then there's also like the Anastasia ones. I believe talc is the first ingredient in the eyeshadows. I could be wrong. I might have to double check. But pretty much like all my favorite shadows had talc as the first ingredient, and I'm just like, I'm so used to hearing talc as a filler ingredient, in which it is. But I guess when it performs well, I'm okay with it. So I went ahead and I took the plunge and I purchased this palette because I felt like I was going to regret it otherwise if I didn't. And I chose the blue purple because I thought, first, it just really stood out to me. Like, it's so beautiful and bold. And I mean, I can always go and get the green brown if I really want. But then like, I just, these were all things that aren't already in my collection that I felt like would make it worth the purchase. So of course, let's talk about the packaging, because the packaging is gorgeous. It is stitched. It has a stitch lining, well, not lining, but it's stitched on the edges, and it has a good amount of weight to it. It's much smaller than I expected it to be. Let's see, let me so this is a large Z palette, and it's a little bit bigger, but I was expecting these palettes to be much larger because they're 28 pans, and it would just look gigantic whenever I would watch videos with them or featuring them. And so whenever I got it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of small. Anyways, it comes with a mirror on the inside. This is the frosted protective sheet that I just haven't taken off because I don't really use the mirrors in palettes. And it comes with a protective plastic case. And I kind of ghetto rigged this because I've been told, or I heard, read, watch, whatever. I heard that the shades listed online for these palettes are incorrect, and what is on the box has all the correct names and reference numbers for the colors, for the shadows in the palette, if that makes sense. So everything you see online is false. And then all the shades that are listed on the cardboard box that it comes in are correct. So instead of keeping the cardboard box, I just went ahead and cut out the shade reference and I taped it onto this plastic sheet because that is the easiest way to like have access to it, because I don't want to tape it to the back because that just looks kind of ugly and then like it might come off whenever I'm commuting. So that is what I did with this, so that way it's a lot easier to just talk about these shades right here, right now. It also has a magnetic closure, which makes it really nice and it won't like fall open. Oh gosh. So introducing these shades, you have a good amount of, pretty much they're like all cool tone shades. You do have like this copper shade and this really, really gorgeous looking like, that looks good, like that looks good. So pretty much it is a cool tone palette. You do have like a really, really metallic silver one. You have like two duochromes. You have two duochromes. This one is Calypso and this one is something. See, this is why I taste it. And that one is Golden Rose, which they're both really, really gorgeous. So these are all highly pigmented shadows. They are super, super pigmented. They blend really nicely. The matte shadows, they do need a little bit of work as always. They're no different from other matte shadows that are, you know, unless, you know, like you have those really, really amazing matte shadows that you're like, yeah. Well, this one's not quite. Yeah, it's not there. Not quite there. It does need a little bit of working whenever you're blending it, or it needs another shade to help it look blended at least. The metallic satin, you know, duochrome shades are really, really gorgeous. They blend really nicely. They do fall out though. These shadows have a lot of fallout, so you're gonna need some like shadow guards or whatever they're called, or you're just gonna have to keep a fan brush like with you so that way you can just dust it off, or I don't know, a hand fan or something. But you will get a lot of fallout, so I suggest doing your eyeshadow first before you put on foundation whenever you use these shadows, because it is just a lot. Before, like, I put on my foundation today, like I was all glittery down here because of these shadows. Yeah, they are highly pigmented. I will say though that the pigment is not long lasting. For ones like Calypso, which is really, really gorgeous. Like, can you see that? Oh no. But it's a really, really gorgeous like duochrome, and it's gorgeous for like maybe 5-10 minutes, but basically by the time you're done with your makeup, it looks kind of like silvery. Like, it really like tones down, like it gets super neutral and it just really mutes. The same goes for this one, this navy color. It really mutes and turns basically like gray. Today's the first day that I'm using powdered blue, which is what is on my lids, and I put that on top of petroleum blue. So I'm kind of like looking at it to see like if it mutes a little, and it seems to be doing okay, but then like it does move around a little. But then I do have really like creasy eyes, so I do have a lot of creases in my on my eyelids. So that could be a factor. I do notice that the more like warm tone shades, they don't mute, and maybe it's just the blues and the purples. The purples kind of do mute a little bit, but like this one and like these, like they don't mute throughout the day. So that is something for you to keep in mind. Maybe you want to lean towards the warm tone shades, because these blues and these purples, they do kind of like go down on you throughout the day. It kind of reminds me of the Hourglass palettes. It was like the wavy ones with the 5. I got the one with the really pretty navy color in there, and it just turned like silver by the end of the day. No, it turned silver by like the time I was done with eye makeup, and it was just not what I was wanting out of it. So that's pretty much how these blues perform. Is very similar to that. If you like that, then that's fine. If you like how it transitions throughout the day, then that's fine. But if you really want the pigment to stay true, then this isn't for you. I discussed before how I have the palette 5 in number 4. Have the palette 5 in number 4, and there are some overlap shades. So in this one you have the shades Oxide and Cool Plum. Yeah, so Oxide and Cool Plum are in this one and in the palette 28. And let me just go ahead and swatch them. So this one will be Oxide. Both of these are Oxide. And as you can tell, this one's from the palette 28. It's much more red. It's like a copper color. And this one from the palette 5 is definitely more brown. Like, I don't know if you can see that or if I'm just imagining things, but the one from the palette 5 is definitely more brown, and it's not as like shimmery, metallic-y looking. It's definitely not the same. And then let's see, Cool Plum. I'll go ahead and swatch that. So Cool Plum, here, okay, so Cool Plums, this one is from, yeah, this one is from the palette 5, and this one's from the palette 28. And the one from the palette 5 is definitely darker in color, and the one in palette 28 is definitely more reddish toned, and it's lighter. It looks a little bit more taupe. And so I'm just like, why are you inconsistent in the colors? Why? Like, why can't they be the same colors, you know? So that really, really irks me as well. Like, why these two shades are definitely not the same. I mean, the differences may be minor, but I can tell. Like, I can tell that they're not the same. You can, I mean, like, even if I show it to you like this. Yeah, so showing it to you like this, like, you can tell that they are all not the same shades at all. So that really annoys me, and I'm just like, Maybe she does it so that way, like, some are like a little different and you'll want like the more expensive one, the more exclusive one, or like just so you'll buy more than one of them, so you can have all of them, I guess. Yeah, so pretty much those were like the cons of these shadows. They're inconsistent with the same shadows, and the blues and purples, the cool tones, they kind of mute a little throughout your makeup application period, so they won't be the same when you're done as when you first apply them. They do have a lot of fallout as well. It is expensive per piece. In the big palette, it isn't too expensive, but it does like pack a punch. They are really, really gorgeous. A lot of, if anything, I suggest getting the metallics and duochromes and not the mattes. Get the satins, pearlized, you know, whatever, just not the matte ones, and try to steer clear of the cool tones. You know, it's kind of hard to do that considering like how pretty they look, but they don't perform the best from what I have experienced. Overall, I hate saying bad things about like products though, but overall I do really like these, especially if I want something more intense. My favorites, I will say though, my favorites are the ones I use for highlighting. So like the lighter ones, like these two on the ends, they go really, really gorgeously in the tear ducts. And then obviously, let's see, there's this one which is much loved, and then this one, I use those really, really often on my tear ducts because they just look really, really good. They look really good. Otherwise, like, I think if anything, if you want something bold and in a big palette, then I do really like these. Like, these are really nice and unique, so I would say go for it if you do want them. If you're looking for something like, if you're looking for something with long-lasting pigment and everything, this is not for you. Like, don't get it. Don't get it. But if you do want to get Natasha Denona palettes, I would suggest getting the lighter shades, like the ones that you can use for highlighting in your tear ducts, things like that. Things that you don't have to worry about muting down throughout the day. Because it's just, it doesn't cut it for me, honestly. I will keep using this. I will keep using this, and I would probably end up buying the blue, not the blue. And I will probably end up buying the green brown one because like I don't know how much more you can mute down green and brown. Hopefully not much more. But as far as this one goes, I don't regret purchasing it, but as far as recommending it, I'm not exactly sure. It's just really pretty to look at though. So if you want something like in your china cabinet, then go ahead and get this. Yeah, so that is how I feel about these. Get them if you really want them. Get the light ones, like get the lighter colors for like highlighting and stuff. That is all from this super long review, but I was just like I could just talk forever sometimes. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know how you feel about this review. I will link down below the swatch video in the description, or I'll comment it whichever way is easier, or I'll put it in the video somewhere up here or down here somewhere. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful, useful, or entertaining in any type of way. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Bye!